Good morning, student. In continuation to our part 1 of perception, where we covered selection of stimuli, that is the various factors which affects the selection of stimuli and which ultimately affects our perception process. And now in this part of perception, in this part of this video, we'll be covering the factors which actually affect the organization and interpretation of stimuli. The basic purpose of covering, or after listening to this video, you'll be able to understand what are the various factors which affect the organization and interpretation of the stimuli. Stimuli is any object or your surroundings which actually you perceive. Now, if you remember, we have perception process which actually has 6 steps, or sometimes we can say it has 3 steps, where first of all we receive stimuli, then we select the various objects, or we select the various things on the basis of our surroundings or on the basis of our perception. Then we organize them, we interpret them to give meaning to it. Then in a fractions of second we check on the things before reacting towards the things, and again this process goes on and on and on, and the person who actually perceives the thing is called perceiver. Now, first of all, I am going to cover what are the various factors which affect the organization of stimuli. Now, till now, the perceptual selection has been made on the basis of the various internal and external factors we covered in our last lecture. And next to this, the received stimuli must be organized, then only inferences can be drawn. Here the inferences mean then only we can give meaning to the various factors, we can give meaning to the various objects which we have actually perceived. The first and the foremost factor which helps us in organizing the stimuli is figure ground. Students, you must have remembered the black and white advertisement of Charlie Chaplin Charlie Chaplin, where we recognize, or we actually remember yes, this is a Charlie Chaplin ad because it has a black and white background. It is considered to the most basic form of perceptual organization, and this principle clearly states we perceive the things in a better manner if we have, or if we are able to draw a better relationship between a target and its background, because the target or the relationship between the target and its background actually influences the perception, that is, perceived objects stand out as separable from their general background. Then the second factors which actually impacts the selection of stimuli is organization of stimuli is a similarity. We organize the things in a better manner if they are similar to each other. Like the diagrammatic representation I have shown here, a dash 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 sign, then plus 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 sign, and if I immediately ask you what was the first line and what was the second line, you can definitely give me the first line was a simple dash line, and then we have an addition sign going on and on and on. Then again we have a minus sign, we have an addition sign, that's it. Then the third factor which actually helps us to organize the thing, which is again related to the grouping, proximity. More near the things are, or the similar type of things are lying nearby, we can easily say yes, where the place we went to, that was a rocky place, or the place we went to, that was a simple desert place, because the things we had seen there was of similar nature. Then we have a perceptual constancy, that is a more subtle part of perceptual organization is constancy, that is our ability to perceive certain characteristics of an object as remaining constant. Students, you remember the color of post box. Color of post box is all over India is red. Ambulance, whenever we heard any siren, we always say yes, it's an ambulance going on. Or petrol pump's color is always a petrol pump is drawn on it, and then we have cross mark on all the ambulances or the hospitals. So this actually, the shape consistency, the size consistency, and the color set consistency helps us to keep the things for a longer period of time in our mind, as well as it helps us to organize the things in a better manner. Then another factor which helps us to organize the thing is an halo effect. It refers to the tendency of perceiving people in terms of good and bad. So sometime when we come across to a particular person, we interact with that person, and if somebody ask us what that guy is and how and who that guy is, we always say he's a very nice guy, he's a very good guy, because we had listened to him, we talked to him for some time. So we always categorize a person or categorize a thing on the basis of all the good qualities that person has, or all the good qualities for what we liked him, or for all the bad qualities why we dislike it. So this principle clearly states there are two extremes, good or bad, low or high. There is no midway in between that. We just cannot say ki theek hai. Then we have the next to it, we have the various factors which help us to interpret the stimuli, because it entirely depends upon the selection and the organization of stimuli. The various internal and external factors of selection of stimuli, we give meaning to the stimuli. So after the data have been received and organized, the perceiver interprets or assigns meaning to the information. And the factors which actually contribute to the interpretation of stimuli is, first one is a perceptual set, that is previously held beliefs about the objects influence an individual's perception of similar objects. So all the time when we were growing kids, so most of the time our father or our parents said, my manager is a real bad man, he doesn't appreciate me ever, he always criticizes me. So we grow up with the notion that all the managers are bad, and managers or your seniors always criticize you, they don't motivate you, and this is what actually perceptual set is. So whenever we interpret about our boss, so that is somehow there in our mind, no, my boss always criticizes me, he always try to find out my mistakes, whatever I do. Then the second factor is attribution. This factor clearly refers to the process by which the individual assigns causes to the behavior he conceives. So whatever we do, whatever our behavior is, how we does a particular thing, that actually all the time there is always a reason behind it. And whenever somebody asks us, we always give some meaning ki why we did this, what was the reason behind my anger, or what was the reason behind my love to some other person. So that is again one factor which actually has an influence on our interpretation. Then we have third factor is stereotyping. That is a tendency for a person's perception of another to be influenced by the social group to which the other person belongs. Say somebody belongs to the another group of an organization whom I actually don't like. So whenever somebody asks me about that person, I'll say no, he's not a good guy, he belongs to that group which has a different mindset, which has a different notions and the beliefs. So I hope with the explanation of all these factors, we have very much clarity about what the perception is, that is how people perceive the thing. Then we have what are the factors which actually helps us to select the stimuli, organize the stimuli, and finally give meaning to the stimuli. And now students, before coming to the next class, you're supposed to done an assignment in a written form or a computerized form. You can submit. That is, what is perception? Explain the various factors affecting selection, organization and interpretation of the perception. And the second question you will be covering, that is what actually is the selection process. So after doing these two assignments, you will definitely have a clarity of what the perception is and why do we perceive things in a similar manner, and why do we interpret things in a one way or another. Thank you so much.